Alongside Bitcoin, Ethereum has been and will be one of the most important inventions of the beginning of the 21st century. Trillions of dollars of value have transacted on Ethereum in a decentralized, secure, and permissionless manner. In all respects, Ethereum has been wildly successful. However, there is one major problem that Ethereum faces and has been working on for several years. The gas fees on the Ethereum Mainnet blockchain are as high as a few $100s for a simple transaction during times of high network utilization. Today, we'll go over the future of Ethereum and how it plans to attack this. At the heart of the problem is the scalability trilemma, which states that it is only possible to achieve two out of the following three: scalability, decentralization, and security. Each blockchain must compromise on one. Ethereum Mainnet today has decentralization and security, but it's not scalable. Many of the so-called Ethereum killers, one could argue, have security and scalability, but are not sufficiently decentralized. So how does Ethereum plan to solve the scalability trilemma? Formerly known as ETH 2.0, the beacon chain, the merge, and shard chains are the three major upgrades that are intended to solve the scalability trilemma and make Ethereum scalable, decentralized, and secure. Let's go ahead and break down each one of them. Successfully shipped on December 1st, the beacon chain will serve as the consensus layer for Ethereum and transition the network from proof of work to proof of stake. This is out of the scope for today, but in one sentence, proof of work requires miners to contribute their resources in the form of energy to help validate transactions and create new blocks. I have a video on proof of work that you can check out. Proof of stake no longer requires energy, but rather requires one to stake Ethereum to validate transactions and create new blocks. Much easier than mining. This is intended to increase the number of participants who secure Ethereum, making it more decentralized. At this point, you might be yelling at me saying that Ethereum is still proof of work, and you would be correct. This leads us to the merge. Expected to take place sometime in Q2 2022, the merge refers to the moment that the Ethereum mainnet will merge with the beacon chain. From this point on, Ethereum will now follow a proof of stake consensus system. As discussed earlier, validators who have staked their Ethereum will be assigned to secure and validate the network. There are several interesting details here for another day. Following the merge, there will be some post-merge cleanup, like allowing stakers to withdraw their staked ETH that they previously had staked. Finally, following the merge, Ethereum is expected to ship shard chains sometime in 2023. Planned to be rolled out in phases, shard chains will allow for Ethereum to fulfill its promise of scalability. This will dramatically reduce fees, provide extra storage layers, and tremendously increase transactions per second on the network. Sharding will reduce the amount of network congestion by creating new chains called shards. Sharding facilitates decentralization while achieving scalability by permitting validators to only store data from their shard and not the entire network. For example purposes, we draw two shard chains here, but Ethereum's number of shards at initial launch is expected to be 64. I do want to note that users will not have to wait until 2023 to transact on Ethereum with cheap fees. There's a number of promising rollups and projects including Optimism and Arbitrum, which are based on optimistic rollups, as well as zkSync, Loopring, StarkX, StarkNet, which are based on zero-knowledge rollups. Several of these are awesome today. Again, this is all for another day, but I will go ahead and leave a ton of helpful links below. There's a promising plan for Ethereum to solve the blockchain trilemma, and some of the smartest people in the world are working on it. The beacon chain, the merge, and shard chains are the result of years of incredibly hard work from many individuals, and I'm incredibly excited as we begin building on and living in these new ecosystems and worlds. Please go ahead and subscribe and like this video to help support this content. I'll see you next time.